This is the first ever Spring Studio Ship It podcast where I just answer questions that we found across the internet. First one, what makes design feel expensive? The first thing that comes to mind is design should always be either solving a problem or addressing a need. It can still be playful, but it should have some purpose. Design has a purpose, whether it is to make you feel a certain way when you walk into a room. That's what interior design is all about. A website, for example, the user should feel like the website is there to solve a problem, their problem, speak directly to them, or guide them through a journey or something. If it's product design, the product should feel, design should feel, it should feel nice. It should feel easy to use. It should feel like something that was designed intentionally. So I think the first thing I always harp on here at Spring Studio is making sure design feels intentional, making sure that design decisions that we're putting on the canvas are there on purpose. And we gave it some thought. We explored some different options. We explored some different areas of the design, and what we settled on, we believe is the right solution. Now, there's going to be iterations, there's going to be revisions, there's going to be exploration, but it should always feel intentional. We should put thought and energy into making this design feel right. I think that's largely what it comes down to. Like making the design feel expensive. Honestly, making anything feel expensive. Like we're not talking about trying to design a Rolex or make a product that costs $100 feel like $1,000. I think the word expensive, I'm getting hung up on there. It shouldn't necessarily feel expensive. It should just feel intentional. It should feel right. There's a lot of tactical ways to get there, but the number one recommendation I have is to think about the user, be the advocate for the user, balance the user needs and the goals with the business goals and objectives, and do it intentionally. Design those screens to try to bring those two pieces together. Should startups even care about brand early on? This is a really awesome question because there's a lot to unpack here. Should startups even care about brand early on? In short, yes, because brand and design is about to be the only differentiating factor between your product and somebody else's. I think design will become the moat. Tools like V0, Bolt, Lovable, and even Figma Make allow you to spin up a prototype or an MVP incredibly fast. What makes your product stand out from someone else's? What makes your product uniquely yours? I think it's design, and it can be in large part brand as well. I think we're going to start to see a lot more emphasis put on brand and maybe less emphasis on complex engineering. We have the ability to speed up the engineering quite a bit, whether that is getting a technical co-founder to take you from 30 days to launch to 3 days to launch. You can move much faster now. So what's going to be the thing that makes you stand out? I think it's going to be something like design and brand building. Brand is the way people feel when they hang out with you and your product. It is your identity. It's how people feel about you and your product. Why do so many startups look the same? I think it's important that we define startup. Are we talking about a SaaS platform? Are we talking about the brand itself and all kind of feeling familiar? It's never been easier to build a piece of software, and it's never been easier to build a company. There are templates and tools that allow you to design a brand incredibly fast. The challenge with that is everything starts to look very similar. So how do you stand out? A lot of my team asks, what does this mean for designers? What does this mean for us as Spring Studio employees? I'm thinking about this wave, this vibe coding and AI wave, as almost like Squarespace 2.0. I think it's going to help a lot of companies launch the business quickly or build a piece of software much faster than before. But with that comes the obvious downsides, and that is confined to some sort of system, confined to a template, confined to whatever the LLM that you're using puts in place and those guardrails. The nice thing about working with freelancers or in-house designers or expensive agencies or even Spring Studio is like we open up a lot of additional possibilities in terms of what brand can be and what design can be, what product can be, to really allow us to explore and to try different things and to get creative. So I think a lot of them look the same because they're able to spin something up incredibly fast. I think if we want to build a lasting brand, if we want to build something interesting. It requires a little bit more work, but not every startup is ready for that, and that's totally fine. Getting some validation in the market, getting some validation for your product should be step one, talking to users, making sure that what you're building actually solves a problem, and then explore down the road a little bit of enhanced design. I think the million-dollar question that every design agency, designer, and head of design asks is, why does design feedback usually suck? We've worked with over 500 startups and established brands, and we've heard a lot of feedback. We've combed through the Figma comments. There are some themes, there are some similarities between great feedback, good feedback, and then on the flip side, what bad feedback looks like. We try to encourage our customers as often as they can to leave good feedback. Obviously, it depends on the customer and the project we're working on. So good feedback, I like to break it up into three main parts. The first part of any good feedback is being specific, right? Specificity is great when it comes to feedback. Now, the problem or the thing we run into with asking our clients to be very specific with their feedback is oftentimes the client doesn't quite know what they're looking for, what they want to see, how they want to see it. So we're trying to get that specific feedback. Sometimes we can drill down with additional questions, and sometimes they just get it right away. But I think the biggest, number one thing is being specific about your feedback. When I say specific, I don't mean prescriptive with the feedback. Change this text to light gray, or change this button to blue instead of purple. That I think we can debate whether or not that is healthy or that is a good thing. But what I'm talking about, specific feedback, is always rooted in goals and trust. So there's three parts. It's being specific, but it has to be rooted in goals and given with trust, knowing that we will be able to execute. Super specific feedback that is rooted in goals and given with trust. So that second part is all about goals. What are we trying to accomplish? What are we trying to do? We're working on a landing page and we're working on the hero section. The feedback is this hero section doesn't tell the story the way we're hoping to, right? And for whatever reason, maybe it's the visuals, maybe it's the text, not sure. Why doesn't this hero section tell that story or convey the message we're trying to convey? So we're always going back to the goal. The goal is to either tell the story, get signups, whatever. So in this case, it's tell the story. Why isn't it telling the story? It's probably that the visuals and the H1 don't quite line up, don't quite work together. So there's probably a disconnect there. And what that usually means is there's a disconnect in our understanding of what that goal is. So maybe it was miscommunicated. Maybe we didn't do our work in really figuring out what the main goal is for this hero section so we can better position ourselves and better design this solution. And then that kind of leads into trust, which is, okay, if we're getting a ton of feedback like this, can we receive that feedback, or can the client give us that feedback, trusting that we can take it to that next level, or we can take that feedback and fix it. So yeah, that's the three things we look for in any bit of feedback. Number one is specificity. Number two, is the feedback rooted in goals? And then three, is it given with trust? Is fast design ruining design? Love this question. Is fast design ruining design? So Spring Studio offers this commitment to our customers to deliver designs within 24 to 48 hours. It is a pretty ambitious goal. Every single project, every single time we pitch it, we are feeling it. We live and breathe this sort of speed and partnership mentality. It always goes back to when I was freelancing. I was working with a CEO who loved seeing things quickly. Who doesn't love seeing designs quickly? But I took it to heart, and I took it almost as a challenge, where he would say something like, at 10 a.m., we would have our stand up. And he said, okay, here are the goals. Here are the screens that need to be designed. When do you think I can see this? In my head, I'm thinking, you can probably see this next week sometime, because I'm going to take some time and I'm going to explore. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And before I could even answer, he says, how about 1 p.m. today? He gave me a few hours, and I'm thinking 2 weeks, but he gave me a few hours. That completely shifted my mindset from this sort of precious design work that needs a lot of time and attention and exploration, which I do agree that it needs at times. This other side, which is, How quickly can we mock something up so we can collaborate on this together? Because I believe by doing that, we can get to the finish line a little bit faster. Can we work together on this? Can I see something in a few hours? And it completely shifted my mindset. And that is literally how we built and why we built Spring Studios, because I realized every CEO, every marketing manager, every product person wants to see designs yesterday. So how can we be that wonderful design partner if we're taking 2 weeks to design something? No, we have to take 24 hours to design something, and in some cases even less, because we want to keep up that momentum and we never want design to be the bottleneck. So how can we do that? I don't think fast design is ruining design. I think fast, lazy design and fast design that is maybe a little too templated or cookie cutter or non-imaginative might be ruining design. But I think the best designers, certainly the best designers I've ever worked with, they do work fast because they've been doing this a long time. They know how to mock something up super quickly. They know what this onboarding flow should accomplish. They know what these goals are, and they've seen these patterns before. They want to explore, they want to push these patterns further, but they have to know what those patterns look like in order to do that. That usually just comes with experience. Fast, good design is the greatest thing for startups, for established brands, whether it's on the marketing side or the product side. And that's literally exactly what we're trying to solve for at Spring Studio. We want it to feel like we're in the same office working together. We want it to feel like we are a design partner, not just another vendor. Should founders stop giving so much feedback? I love this question. Some of the best founders I've ever worked with leave dozens and dozens of Figma comments. It's not so much change the text to this color or change the button to that color, because they have this great idea, this great vision of what they're looking for. They can be hyper specific about the feedback and leave good, helpful, valuable feedback. I think it's always rooted with good intentions. Do most MVPs over design? I think they used to. Maybe they took a little bit longer than needed to get a product out there. But now with V0 and with Bolt.new and Lovable and Figma Make, like the vibe coding craze is here. You can spin up an MVP with literally zero design in less than a week. You can get it in front of customers so incredibly fast where you skip the entire design phase. That obviously comes with its challenges, and sometimes it can bite you down the road where you need to come back and say, we didn't really think about this user flow. We didn't really think about the design. Let's go back and refine the design before we launch V1 or before we add even more customers. So I don't think MVPs today are over-designed. If anything, I think they're skipping the design phase entirely, and I should maybe reconsider just a little bit, at least have a general idea of the user flows, a general idea of the information architecture, a general idea of what they're trying to do. But when you skip the design phase, you skip all of these edge cases and all of these areas that you don't really think about in this sort of vibe coding step. It takes coming back and looking at the thing holistically to understand, okay, we missed this. What about this edge case? What about this maybe potential direction for the product? And then you run the risk of tacking on more and more features, which will require more and more untangling as you continue to build out the product. So I think design is super critical. You can mock something up quickly, get it into V0, get a prototype spun up super fast, and that is amazing. But you should always come back to, how is the user using this program? Are we introducing a bunch of friction for these people that will then lead them to get frustrated and just leave? They might never come back. They might use the product once, realize this is not what I thought this was going to be, and then peace out and never come back. That's obviously the last thing you want. So a good way to fix that, a good way to avoid that, is by thinking like a designer, thinking through the entire user experience, thinking through all of the various steps that a user might be going through, and then making sure nothing feels weird, making sure there's no added friction, making sure you can accomplish what you want to accomplish quickly and easily. One way to do that is by thinking like a designer and really trying to understand the user. Cool. I think that is about it for our first ever episode of Spring Studio Ship It. Let me know what you think. This is going to be a solo thing. I'm going to do this maybe once a week and just chat about design and business and just share my thoughts. So if you have any questions that you want answered, please share them below and we'll get to them. But I think more than anything, I hope some of my answers were helpful. I know this is coming from just a place of curiosity, and I hope it's interesting to some people. All right, let me know what you think. See ya.